Hey everybody, it's Tyler the Fro, and this week we've got a very special brew. It's a very spicy one, using the package from EX2 of Jerry and Leomon. Typically you see this combination in a lot of aggro decks, a lot of hybrid decks, but this time I'm going to be using it for a ramp deck. We're going to be accelerating into a level 6 and then a level 7 at a very quick pace, thanks to all the memory gain in this deck, so check it out. First things first, we're going to start off with our eggs. This is a blue and purple deck, so I had a couple of different options for eggs. I went with the Leomon because I wanted a blue base for my rookies, and of all the blue eggs in the game, it did the most. Like, you don't really care about this effect, but out of all of them, it was the most relevant. Like, I could possibly use a starter deck Demi Vmon, but even then it didn't really do too much, so Leomon, nice neutral blue egg, kind of the way I decided to go with this one. Next up, we've got our rookie package. It's a very sparse package because we're not really trying to digivolve into a chain. So we've got 4 of the promo Gabumon. So on play, you reveal your top 5 cards of your deck. You add a Tamer from among to your hand and put the rest on the bottom in any order. This is a very powerful effect for when you're trying to dig into Jerry. To kind of slow down our opponents, to keep them from outpacing us, we've got 3 copies of Madoki Betamon. This is a very powerful tool for shutting off opposing memory gain. Very good for shutting off Hammer Sparks, Jack Raids, opposing Leomon. So it's just a very useful tool. It's not really the main focus of the deck, having rookies in play, so it never hurts to just have this guy sitting in play and just doing his own thing. Next up, for our level 4s, we've got the core of our deck. We've got 4 copies of EX2 Leomon, and we've got 4 copies of BT1 Leomon. Both of these, on deletion, you gain 2 memory. This one, whenever you have a Tamer in play, you also gain this blocker, so it's very good for just stopping opposing aggression. This one also draws you a card when he dies, so this is like kind of the most important one. This one you're going to be attacking with primarily for getting those early chips in. If they delete it, you gain 2 memory. If they delete it on their turn, you can possibly shift the turn back over onto your side, so it's just a very powerful effect. This one is a very big deterrent if you can choke, because you just block and suddenly it's your turn all over again. It makes it very difficult for your opponents to kind of do things on their turn, which is kind of the core engine of the early game. Eismon Scatter Mode. This is a very important tool because we want to be seeing specific pieces to assemble our cards. On deletion, you draw 3 cards, then trash 2. Very straightforward. 4 play cost is very cheap, especially for the sheer impact that it has. And most importantly, it's very good for filling our trash with options, which is going to be very important later on for the next card that we're trying to accelerate into. Our 4 copies of Avengekidmon. This is probably one of the few on-play effects that I really feel like ramping into. Avengekidmon, so he costs 1 less for each option in both players' trash, and on play you return all cards with 3 musketeers and all options from the trash to the bottom of their decks, and then if 7 or more cards are returned this way, I delete one of my opponent's Digimon with 8,000 DP or less, or if it's just a 3 musketeers. Frequently this is coming down for like maybe 4 or 5 memory, which makes it a very early, like just a big body that your opponents have to deal with. And then of course, by virtue of being a red Digimon, that also allows us to digivolve into the main win condition of this deck, which is Agumon Bonded Bravery. This is a very cheap to digivolve into, of 3 cost. So when attacking, if you have Tamer in play, like say Jerry, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 13k DP or less, which is pretty much anything save for a level. It's anything from like a Mastamon or like a Lucimon Chaos Mode or any of those big hits. And then once per turn, when one of your opponent's Digimon is deleted, you trash the top card of their security. So if this is coming in, you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon, trigger the effect, trash the top card, and get that check-in. So you're effectively hitting security +1 without having to worry about surviving 2 security checks. You can just trash the top card. So in matchups like, say, Mastamon, where you've got a lot of security stack manipulation, this is a very powerful tool for that, because you just trash the top card of whatever they've got set up, and you just kind of get around whatever they're doing. I had a couple of options for the level 7 to digivolve into. I could use Leomon with security +1 in the reboot. I could use any of the Omnimon, like the Blitz one. I could use Alter S, the new Merciful mode. But I like that this one only costs 3 to digivolve. And with the amount of like Mastamon in yellow and purple kicking around, the trashing the top security card is very important. And especially it triggers off of any of our opponent's Digimon just deleting. So like, if we just punch in something every turn, we can just avoid the security stack entirely. So like, if we know that our opponent's security is like full of, like, say, ultimate flares or chaos degradations, we can just keep punching our opponent's Digimon. And all we really have to do is just do that a couple turns in a row, and it's just trash, 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 and one check once they've got no cards left. Next up, we've got our Tamer package. We've got the core combo piece of Jerry Cotto. So this is a very useful tool for cheating on memory, because for 4 play costs we get to play either of our Leomon, which costs 5 and 6. So we're effectively saving memory right there. Then, again, because we want to dig into specific cards, whenever opponent's Digimon attacks, we can suspend or draw a card, which makes it very easy to find those pieces. Especially because, like, once you have multiples of these in play, your opponent attacks with one Digimon and you're drawing like 2 to 3 cards a turn, and it makes it very easy to set up your combos. Next up, we have 4 copies of Purple Mimi. This is just a very effective tool for gaining extra memory whenever somebody plays an option. We have a number of options in this deck that say, like, memory. So on top of this, we gain even more memory, so it makes it easier to accelerate into the Avengekidmon. We can use it on our opponent's turn whenever they play something, so we can just gain memory that way. So it makes it easier to choke on your opponent's turn. And it also, because it's a purple Tamer, it sets up some of our options, so we can actually just play them to begin with. It's good for making certain 1-cost memory options like memory neutral, so we spend a memory, gain a memory. So it's just a very useful card for the memory investment. And speaking of options, we've got the core of the deck and what accelerates our Avengekidmon so quickly. We've got 4 copies of Hammerspark, 4 copies of Jackraid, 1 Ice Wall, 4 Deathclaw, and 3 Boring Storms. So the 4 Hammersparks, that's kind of a staple of any blue deck, kind of a necessary card. And with this one and, say, Mimi, we can technically gain 2 memory for 1 card for 0 memory investment. Jackraid, a little less flexible. Rarely you're gaining more than like 1 memory with this card, but still 0 cost to play. You can tap Mimi to gain a memory, and more importantly, you can just play these just for free and just fill up your trash pile, so Avengekidmon comes down so much faster. The 1 Ice Wall, you're playing a blue deck, it's just a very good defensive tool, because it stops your opponent from just like swinging out. And more importantly, we technically now have 9 Hammersparks in security. So our security stack can have 9 cards that, when they triggered security, gain us 2 memory. So if we're choking our opponent, it makes it so much harder for our opponents to like actually get multiple checks in, because that turn will just pass over to us the second we hit one of these Hammersparks. The 4 copies of Deathclaw, it's a very good tool for hitting opposing Gazamon, Madoki Betamons, because those are seeing a lot more play now. But also, it's a good way of triggering the on-deletion effects of our level 4s manually. So we can trash an Eismon scatter mode, no problem. Just get those card draws. If we need to trash one of our Leomon, like say we attacked in with a Leomon and it just didn't die during a security check, we can use this to pop an opposing Digimon and gain 2 memory. With the Mimi, this becomes technically free to play. So if we delete a Leomon, we're gaining 2 memory. We don't lose 1 memory in the process. Boring Storm, kind of a neat little tech card. I was looking at one-cost options that we could kind of fill with some spots, and this is a pretty good one. So for 1 memory, we just draw a card, but if we flip it in security, we draw 2. So again, it's a very cheap option to play. It's very easy for accelerating Avenge Kidmon, and it's very good for digging into the pieces that we need to actually set up our combo. So overall, this has been a very interesting deck to play. You get a lot of these turns where you set up a Leomon and your opponent tries to attack in, you block, you gain 2 memory, and you draw a card, and the turn immediately goes over to you. You have, say, multiple Jerrys in play, they attack in with anything, you draw 2 cards, they hit any of our options, and gain 2 memory, it's your turn again. So if you play very conservatively with your memory, it makes it very easy to choke your opponent, and any of those flipping in security will gain you more memory. You can effectively time walk your opponent, like to use a magic term. You just steal their turn pretty much every time, and then once you get the Avenge Kidmon down, you pop one of their best things, then you Digivolve into the Bond of Bravery, and then you just start controlling the board. You make it so they can't actually keep anything in play, and if they figure out a way to delete this thing, then you just keep playing another one, because you've got 3 of these, 4 Avenge Kidmons. You're going to see these eventually because you just draw so many freaking cards. You don't have to worry about decking yourself with like a lot of the draw happy decks, because the Avenge Kidmon puts all of your options back on the bottom of your deck. So if you're trying to deal with, say, Creepy Mon or the slow game from a security control, you can just do that, and suddenly you've got like 10 more turns because you have all these options back on the bottom of your deck. It's just a very quick and easy control combo deck. You control the early game and then just lock down the board with the end game. So yeah, this has been a very spicy deck to play. Very hard for a lot of decks to deal with, and just as a concept, it just kind of comes out of left field. So once again, this has been Tyler the Fro. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that YouTube stuff, and have a great day.